Hey guys, today I'm going to be talking about a film from 1959, Some Like It Hot. Now, this is a movie by director Billy Wilder, who is one of my favorite directors, and it's a film that I saw when I was a kid. I think my grandmother showed it to me, and it blew me away. It's one of two Marilyn Monroe films that I saw when I was a kid. The other one was Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, which I also really liked. I rewatched both of them, and this movie really kind of stands out for me as the better film, first of all, but also the better Marilyn Monroe film. I think if you're not sold on Marilyn Monroe, just watch this movie. You'll get it. You know, like she is great, so good in this film. Like she is beautiful. Her singing is great. She's charming as hell, and she is just like you can tell why you could totally see why Tony Curtis's character would fall in love with her, you know? Like, she is just sensational in this film. Just a true revelation. Like, looks amazing on screen, thanks to beautiful framing by Billy Wilder. I mean, Billy Wilder, if you've never seen any of his films, like, this is top 3. Like, you gotta watch this one. You gotta watch The Apartment as well. And pretty much any of the ones with Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau. Those two are always great together, or something like Irma La Douce as well is pretty fun. Anyway, all Billy Wilder, all this to say, all Billy Wilder films, you should just watch them all right? But this film is about these jazz musicians who are playing in a club, which is kind of a hidden club because of it's set in Prohibition era Chicago. So they're playing music in this club where they serve booze, but the cops are about to show up and uncover this whole operation, which is run by the mafia. And those guys don't mess around. There's this guy with the white stuff on his shoes, whatever those things are called, where people had like black shoes and they would have the white thing over it. I don't know. Great foreshadowing in this film, by the way, because they show you the shoes at the beginning of the film, like those things are going to be important. And they call back to this shot later on. Very clever. I mean, this is one of the greatest films ever made, I would say. At least one of the greatest comedies ever made. And you've got Jack Lemmon and Tony Curtis work beautifully together, by the way. Very different kinds of actors, but somehow together they're perfect. Jack Lemmon, high energy, like really erratic, very kind of camp in this film. And then you've got Tony Curtis, also camp in a different way, but he's got more of a Sylvester Stallone kind of delivery. He's a little bit more blunt and he's the tough guy of the two. But they play these musicians who they escape just like everybody else when the club is raided, but they become witnesses to a crime, which is obviously the cops raided the club because the mafia guy got betrayed by a snitch. And so after that happens, the mafia is gonna, get rid of those guys. They're gonna rub them out. Okay, this is Chicago. So the jazz musicians are witnesses to that, and they escape with their instruments, and they don't know what to do. So the only thing they can think of doing, because they're kind of scammers as well, especially Tony Curtis. He's kind of he's kind of very good at scamming his way through life. Okay. And he decides to take a job as musicians on a train going somewhere. But the only kind of catch is that they're actually looking for women for this job. So they have to dress up like ladies. Actually, it works surprisingly well considering that, although I'll say that Tony Curtis as a lady somehow freaking pulls it off. I don't know how, but I don't know if I would necessarily clock him. Really. Jack Lemmon, not so much, but somehow pulls it off. I don't know. It's the personality, I think, sells it. But one thing that's interesting about this film, looking back, is that you would expect a film from the 50s, okay, to have a very kind of almost like mean-spirited take on these kind of cross-dressing characters, right? But not at all. Like, the fact that they're dressing up as girls, the joke isn't on the act of dressing up as a girl, okay? It's more on that kind of situation, and it's on them specifically. But, they're just doing what they got to do to survive, essentially. because otherwise they're gonna die. It's not a mean-spirited film at all. Actually, this film surprised me rewatching it because it's got such a big heart. This film has such a big heart. It does not feel cynical. The script is very, very good. Like very sharp, very funny, but also like you can tell that the writer really cares about these characters and really wants the audience to care about them. And those characters really care about each other as well, which is hugely important for this story. This is such a fun movie. It's not even that short. It's like over 2 hours, I think. But it feels just like that. Like it's so breezy, this film. You just want to be on that train with those two goofballs and Marilyn Monroe. It just seems like so much fun. You just want to be there. The music is incredible in the film. You know, not just like Marilyn Monroe. I mean, Marilyn Monroe freaking kicks ass at the end with the "I'm Through with Love" song. That scene will just shoot you straight in the heart. Absolutely sensational, especially wearing the dress she's wearing, which doesn't leave too much to the imagination. But the scene on the train where she's playing the little ukulele, and the whole band is there, just so much fun. Even like the score of the film has this kind of like the main theme of the film has this. It's got this nice refrain that pops up at very key moments. Like it makes it feel like a cartoon. Even like the font of like the opening titles and stuff. This film feels like it feels like a cartoon. Like a live action cartoon. So entertaining. There's like this old rich dude who I guess has a crush on Jack Lemmon, who what's his name, Osgood or something, and he's freaking hilarious. And this movie, I should say, has maybe the most perfect ending to any movie ever. Like it was so good, the ending to this movie, just everything from the shots to the performances, the lines that the actors are saying, the rhythm of it, the fact that it's kind of an abrupt ending, but it's done so freaking well. It was so good that I had to rewind it and watch it again. That's how freaking good. Do you know how often this happens to me? Where like I watch a movie which is over 2 hours long, I get to the end, and I rewind the ending because it's so freaking good. I can't remember the last time this has happened. I really can't. So I was shocked myself. I'm like, I want to watch this again right now. It's so beautiful. Just like in that moment, you just get all these characters so freaking well. You know, you just love these guys, and you're just so happy for them. You know the relationship between Tony Curtis and Marilyn Monroe is fun as well, where he's kind of disguising himself as what he thinks she would want, which is what she's kind of a gold digger in this film. That's kind of what Marilyn Monroe got typecast as, unfortunately. In Gentlemen Prefer Blondes as well, although she's like way more shrewd in that. In this, like the whole point of her character is like she thinks that's what she wants, but is it? And that's kind of the case for all these characters. What they think they want is not exactly, it's not exactly how they feel. Tony Curtis disguises himself as a rich dude, and he puts on like this kind of Cary Grant type of way of talking. And I remember reading a story where like they asked Cary Grant what he thought of Tony Curtis's impression of him, and Cary Grant was like, "I don't sound like that at all." He's just like, "I don't even sound like that." That's a funny story. I feel like Tony Curtis told that story a couple of times. Just beautiful film to look at as well. It's black and white, Don't let that put you off because it's such a pretty film. Like just the compositions of the shots, the lighting, the costumes, the art direction, it's all so pretty. Like you'll forget it's a black and white movie like 5 minutes in. I promise you. That's how good this movie looks. And you've got kind of these sharp shadows as well, which makes the whole film really feel like the silver screen, It just glows. Hilarious film as well. Like I don't know if I've sold that too well, but I mean Jack Lemmon. I don't think Jack Lemmon has been funnier than he is in this film. He is so freaking good. Although The Odd Couple, it's close. It's close. But he is incredible in this film. Tony Curtis as well. I mean, Tony Curtis is not the guy you think of when you think like comedy. Like he did a few comedies, but you think of him more for like, like action films, But he's so funny in this, and the way the way he sells his woman look is really funny because it's very. He doesn't really like put on the show or anything. He's just kind of being himself. He does the voice. Obviously, he does kind of a higher pitched voice, but he's got this pout. He does the pout, and it totally works. Like just the pout makes it work. Although he's very clever in that he hides most of his body. Like you just kind of see this part of his face. Whereas Jack Lemmon is just being himself. He's barely changing his voice. But he also sells it because he's got such a good energy to him. You're like, I would buy it. If you told me this is a guy, I would buy it. Told me this is a girl, I would buy it. This is just an incredible character. I love whoever this is, however they identify, And the film does, like, looking back with the sensibilities of nowadays, you kind of realize that the Jack Lemmon's character is probably trans, right? Like, he really enjoys being a girl. Like, he forgets that he's actually not meant to be, like, enjoying what he's doing. Like, he's meant to be kind of hiding, but he's loving it, And I guess back in the day, they were maybe kind of hinting that he's gay, but it doesn't really feel like that's what they're really hinting at. They're hinting at that he loves being a girl, really. The perks that it brings, of course. But he's also... They don't go into it because it's 1959, right? But they kind of strongly hint. To me, it kind of jumped out at me that he really does genuinely like Osgood, right? He does really like him. He's not just like a gold digger like Marilyn Monroe thought she was going to be. And this film has layers to it, Again, I think this is one of those movies where I could spend a good amount of time talking about it. I'd love to make a big video on it, like an analysis kind of video essay. Maybe one day. But okay, to cut a long review short, this film's incredible. I don't know what else to say. It's a perfect comedy script. Perfect comedy. The one thing that, I still need to think about a little bit is how the Prohibition era kind of, and, the gangster kind of subplot in this movie, how it really relates to these main characters. That's something I need to think a bit more about because, it's not accidental that these two kind of plots are mashed together. You got this kind of serious, like the tone of it is serious. You've got a serious kind of mafia film going on with these guys escaping from certain death. And then you've got this like really fun, light cross-dressing comedy. How do these two things come together? This movie makes it work, but what was the thought process behind it? Like, I need to really think about that because I think we can go deeper with that. Look out for a video essay on that. But yeah, I love this movie. I love it as much, if not more, than I did when I was a kid. It holds up so freaking well. Oh my God. So good. If you've never seen it, absolutely watch it. It's a must-see. Like I said, one of the best comedies ever put to film. So turn this video off. Go watch Some Like It Hot. It's a classic. Thanks for watching.